guys, it's been a while. I've had a few requests on the way I snare my bears. It's a little different setup than most people, so I'm going to do my best to show you how I do it and how it operates. It's probably going to be a part 2 to this. This first part I'll just show you how it's made, how it operates. In the second part I'll show you how it's actually set in the trees and camouflaged and that type of thing. And after the second part, if I happen to get a bear snared, I'll show you what that's all about. But right now, Rodney Newberry was the first one that wanted to know what kind of a snare I was using. He's quite interested, and a few other people have showed a little interest, so I thought I'd do this before our snaring season starts here in another week. So we'll get going, but first, everybody seems to be cracking a cold one, so that's my drink, Coors Light. Oh, that first cold one. That's a good one. Anyway, I'll set this down so I don't spill that. And we'll get started. Alright. This is the main part of the snare system. Okay. It's a piece of PVC pipe. I don't know if you can see that well enough or not. The pipe itself is 20 inches long. Inside diameter is 8 inches. Okay, it's got a wall thickness, I think, of around 3/8. Yep, 3/8 wall thickness. And that's what I use for snaring my bears. That's the body part. Now, if you can see this, but you look down inside, you'll see that little grate thing there. Okay, that's the trigger. Okay, you place bait behind that, and on the top of the trigger, I don't know if you can see that, but I think there's a small notch, little notch or a piece of steel sticking out right there. That holds the spring mechanism. So anyway, we'll get onto that in a minute. Okay, now you'll notice here on the top, I'll go over a little closer maybe. Here on the top there's a notch with a slot. That's so you can slide your snare in, and your lock will come up through here. Gives you room for the lock to move. Excuse me. Both sides of the snare. On both sides of the snare you'll notice a slot cut on this side and a slot cut on that side, right here. That's so when you put your snare inside of the tube, that slot, the snare will fit in that slot and in this slot, and it keeps it in place. Okay, that's what those two slots are for. Now up here on this back, there's a slot here, so when your trigger comes up, you can drop an S-hook down inside of there and catch that latch, and then the spring takes a tension on that, which keeps the snare in place. And when the bear pulls on that grate to get at the bait behind it, then the S-hook is released, and the spring takes the cable up and snares the bear. But that's the main part of the body right there. Okay, I just got it blocked off in the end with a piece of plywood. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, if you think you might get water or something, you can drill a couple of small holes in the bottom of your tube just to drain the water off. Okay, but the way I set it with so it's tipped that way a little bit, so that no water can get in it. Okay. Anyway, that's the main part of the body. This is the snare. This is 3/16 cable. Okay, 7x7 cable. It's got the crimp, aluminum crimps on it. A lock, a slide lock, one-way lock system. Okay. If you go up a little higher, you'll notice it is clamped into a huge swivel. You can't have enough swivels. Okay, you got a swivel right at the end of the snare. You come up a little bit farther and you come into another swivel. So you got two swivels within 6 inches of each other. Okay. Now you've got a quick link. Not quite sure. I think it's 5/16 quick link, and that's fastened to a piece of chain that's somewhere around 18 inches long with another quick link. Okay, that's that part of the snare. Now this last quick link goes into a compression spring. It snaps into there. So when a bear is pulling on something, it's not a solid pull. It gives a bit. Okay, then it goes to another quick link, and I've got, I think, 8 feet of chain. All right. Now the chain, I have a padlock. I'll lock that right around a tree. The tree should be sufficient size. It should be 8 to 10 inch anyway, if not bigger. Okay, a large bear, he can do a lot of damage to a tree, so it has to be of sufficient size. This last part is the spring. Now this spring is, I'll show you exactly what this is. You have a large spring, okay? That takes the tension on your trigger, and when the bear releases the trigger, that spring comes together and it hauls your snare up its foot before it can get its leg out. And there's a little catch here, a little release piece of wire. That doesn't have to be very big because that's the only thing that trips the snare. Okay, and then once the bear gets caught, it'll straighten this piece of wire out, and it's away from your bucket and away from the spring. Okay. Now the way this works is you have your spring, your S hook, and you set your trigger inside. Okay, the trigger now is set inside. Notice it's straight up and down. Hope you can see that. Now when a bear comes along, reaches inside of here to get the bait, you have tension on this spring. Okay, this is fast and then it's down anyway, this can't go nowhere. You have tension on this spring, so when he grabs that bait and pulls on that, the spring will go up. Now, this little hook here, that small hook there, that hooks into this right there. Okay, just past your snare. Okay, and when that pulls up, it hauls this snare tight around his leg. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So we'll set the snare. Just snare out. Now you have to play with this a little bit just to get it just right. So when it pulls up, it's going to pull off easy. Okay, there's the slot where you put your snare in. Goes into those grooves. That's how the snare is set. Okay. Now the reason why that big notch is there is to give room for that snare to come out through that hole after the bear is caught. Alright. Now reach in and set this snare with the S-hook. Okay, that S-hook got to go into the snare, into the trigger. So, there we go. That piece of wire goes into there. Okay, that would go over here. Now, you notice where that little hook is? Right on that piece of, that little eye. Now when the spring, you put a lot of tension on that spring. When the spring is fired, the spring will pull up on that snare with that little piece of wire. The bear will be caught, and when the bear pulls, that wire, that little wire will straighten out and it will release. And that way the bear can get away from your snare. Okay? Like I said, that little S-hook, hooks onto the trigger. This little release pin wire hooks into that. Okay, then you can straighten that right out. I mean, I can straighten that out myself if I pulled on that. Alright, so that's that part. Now, and this pin, this spring, okay, that will fasten into there. Alright, and then you chain your snare to the tree. So that's it for now. I mean, I've got 2 of these that I've got to set. I have 2 of these I've got to set. Here in Nova Scotia, we're allowed to snare 2 bears if you've got a trapping license. The only thing they want your money, so you've got to buy. You have to buy your snare. So anyway, we'll sign off. We'll put the other part too here in a week, as soon as the snaring season starts. When the snaring season starts, we'll have this bad boy in the trees. Okay, this thing is set about 3 feet off the ground, so you're not going to catch usually unwanted prey, because he has to reach his arm in to pull on the trigger. So when he reaches his arm in, I mean, it's in there 20 something inches, so he reaches his arm in and pulls on that trigger. I mean, the snare is way up here. Okay, when I reach in, I got a hold of that. I got a hold of the trigger. That snare is going to catch me right here. Okay, that's on me. Now on a bear is about the same, roughly the same size. So you're not really going to catch them here. You're going to catch them up here. It gives you a lot more meat stuff up here. And if it does slide down, at least that lock will slide it down into it, reach its paw. Okay, so anyway, that's what I use. I didn't set one last year. I didn't have the time. The year before last, I put it out on the 1st of October. Sometime in the afternoon, and you're supposed to check these every 24 hours, so I checked the next morning. I went down the first morning on October the 2nd, I had one. So, I mean, it works. But anyway, we'll get that set in the woods so you guys can see what it's all about. And that's it for now. So we'll catch you guys later.